Welcome back. This week, the 2023 Equus Awards celebrated exceptional performances at the Empress Palace. Racing CEO Fundi Sithebe presided over the night and joined us now to chat about the highs and lows of the season. Good evening, Fundi, and welcome to Sports Live. It's always amazing having guests on the show. So, obviously, you guys had... You celebrated these performances of the season, but for you, what sort of big milestones did you expect as a company and the challenges that you encountered this season?
Good evening, and thank you so much for having me on Sports Live. I always say it's just been such a great partnership with the SABC, and we're very, very grateful that we can package horse racing in a different light than it's previously been done, and thanks to the SABC. So literally, I guess it's been a full year filled with lots of milestones. And perhaps if I can just, look at some of the racing events that we've had. We've had a superbly successful Durban July that saw, spectators coming back on course to, pre-COVID numbers. So that was really, really exciting to see. We had the Met, even though we didn't see the pre-COVID numbers, but I think that Cape Racing is really working towards building a much bigger and better Met for the next year. Coming back home to racing, we had a really exciting championship season where we literally had 5 different racing events, and that led to the Ultimate Championships, and that was really, really good for us with racing to package some of the new ideas that, we want more and more people to start buying into and start really being attracted into horse racing, because there's so much more to it than just the element of dressing. It's fun. You see the equine athletes that are horses. You see the jockeys that are athletes as well. So a lot in the go. And finally, I can't not mention that racing launched a first ever in the industry, the Grooms ownership program. So the Grooms are now owners of racing, and once dividends flow through, they'll start to get dividends out of that. And really, this is focused at the most marginalized people within horse racing that take care of our horses. We did renovations to their Grooms Accommodation, and we launched a program where they now have medical and funeral benefits. Like I say, a first in the industry, and it really is putting dignity back in the lives of the important grooms that we see in the sport.
Yeah, let's pick up on that. Those Grooms Accommodation. What's the journey been like to get to this point where you are able to provide this for such an important aspect of the sport?
Oh, without getting emotional, it's been a tough journey. Tough in that when we took over as racing from the 1st of December from the previous operator, which we now went into business rescue, if I had to say that those living conditions were actually not fit for human purpose, they weren't. That's the only way I can see it. It was almost as if we're back in the pre-1994 hostels, except, we realized through our shareholder that this was not the way we want to do business. We fundamentally believe that racing is racing. And we're not making money yet as an operator because so much needs to be done. But it was very important for us to find the funds to renovate the Grooms Accommodation. They're now much happier people. I can even go there, at least with my head held high, that this is where our grooms are living. So that has been such a heartwarming experience. And for them, who wake up at 4 a.m. to look after the horses, who help train the horses, who sleep late at night, making sure that the horses are taken care of, you need to make sure that you provide a home, a comfortable place that they can identify with as home. And I'd like to think that we as racing have done that.
Yeah, you mentioned that obviously one of the highlights is having, you're not there with the pre-COVID numbers just yet, but what has it been like welcoming those partners back and the spectators? Surely now advertising should be picking up. What have you guys observed?
We are observing a slight increase in the numbers. So I guess from twofold, right? I guess the one thing I've always said, having taken over as CEO of racing, is that horse racing is a sport of the people. We need to move away from this misnomer that sport racing is for kings and queens. It's not. It's for everybody. And part of what we want to do, our mandate, is to make sure that it's accessible for every single person that loves the sport of horse racing or that hasn't been exposed to it. So what we're trying to do is really try and get more people back into the race courses, into the race tracks, to enjoy not just only the big events like the Durban July and the Met. We ourselves at 4Racing have got the Betway Summer Cup that happens at the end of November. And we really think we've packaged that is a Joburg event for Joburg people. You know, it's right before the end of the year, before people go away on holidays. And it really poses to be an exciting with some of the best horses, best trainers, best jockeys like Kabelo Matsunyane, who won the Durban July, will be there. And so it is a journey, but I think we're starting to grow a lot more and start to pique a lot more interest from potential spectators. And we just need to keep on keeping at that.
Yeah, speaking of Kabelo Matsunyane, obviously winning the Durban July, that must be a big milestone that you guys are celebrating, beating somebody as experienced and legendary Pierre Strydom. And he's one of the athletes that came through the development of you guys, under you guys. So how proud of that are you? Like, you know, we've had him on the show and he's quite excited about where his journey is going. But for you guys seeing that and the journey that he's had on the sport.
I just, you know, you can't even put words to it. I mean, I was there at the Durban July, and I just had to have a moment with them afterwards to celebrate. Kabelo went through the Jockey Academy, starting out in Durban, coming back, you know, finishing off in Gauteng. And literally, Kabelo was an apprentice for the long walk. You know, it's a 5-year program. But Kabelo's been riding for probably 2 to 3 years. So he's still an amateur, by the way. To everybody else. I mean, Smanga Khumalo, who took it last year, Smanga had just been a machine, you know, and been riding for a lot more. And that was his second Durban July. And to see Kabelo winning this, the humility, the hard work, and I always love how he tells the story that, I mean, Pierre Strydom is a legend. Pierre Strydom is now retiring. He's 60 years. So he's probably got about 40-year advantage ahead of Kabelo. But, you know, the intimidation that takes place, you won't even see it. The intimidation that takes place because everybody wants to be that ultimate winner. Kabelo stayed focused, knew what he needed to do, and it literally came down to that last, wasn't even 100 meters, the last 10 meters of the race. And that just shows dedication, that shows professionalism, and that he was hungry for it. So we're incredibly, incredibly proud of, I always say, the Soweto-born Kabelo, because I'm also from so it was a good moment for us.
Yeah, speaking of, you know, like other avenues that someone can explore, because sometimes you find the sport that is for the elite, you know a thing or two about owning shares, for example, in horses. The Dragonstein Stud Farm won the 2023 Breeder Award. It's an extensive process that one, you know, that you guys can explore. So would you encourage others to explore this avenue, you know, those who are interested in the sport?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I always say that you don't have to own a whole horse. You can own a hoof, a leg, and ear. As long as you're owning part of a horse, the thrill of winning is the same. So incidentally, whilst I oversaw the awards, I belong to a syndicate of just ladies, 10 of us, the Magical Lady Syndicate. And we've got a beautiful filly here, the young girl, called Mrs. Geriatrics. And she won champion 2-year-old filly. And she's just been outstanding. And so really the message is you can own a horse by yourself or you can own it in a syndicate. There can be 10 of you, there can be 100 of you. But the thrill of winning is the same. And we really want people to come and enjoy that aspect because I really think syndication is where we need to go in South Africa to include diversity, to include more people into this beautiful sport.
Before I let you go, what can we expect in the new season?
Lots of excitement. We kick off our spring season next week, Saturday, and we've themed it spring into summer season. So we're going to have spring for a couple of months, and then that is really the build-up, like I said, to the Betway Summer Cup on the 25th of November, which is Grade 1 horses, Grade 1 races, really, really thrilling. But in between that, we've got a few spring challenges, a spring spree. We will even have night racing. There is nothing as beautiful as night racing in Turfentine. And I would urge people, entrance is free. It really is a great evening out for the entire family to come and experience night racing. And then we've also got the charity mile. It's just something that's very, very important to us of, you know, bring in sponsors to give back to charities, the charities that need help the most. So we'll be doing that, the Allied Steel Road Charity Mile on the 28th of October. So a really jam-packed season for us. I'll probably only start to sleep maybe around January, February, but it's well worth it.
Yeah.
Well worth it. You know, everybody must just come through in their numbers.
Yeah, thank you, Fundi. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for you. We're looking forward to having you in the show to discuss how the season is going, and perhaps just before you catch your first sleep in January. That is Fundi Sithebe, the racing CEO, reflecting on the last season where it was a successful for some, especially the likes of Kabelo Maldusangin, who won the Durban July earlier this year.